जय थारी माँ, जय थारी माँ। वी वेलकम आवर ऑडियंस। हमारे बच्चों का स्वागत है। कार्तिक जी, वेरी वेलकम। We are here to explore the world of AI, artificial intelligence. Before we begin, जब ये चर्चा हो रही थी AI के बारे में, मेरे मन में एक ही बात आई कि it stems out of our own mind. It stems out of our own consciousness. So we are hoping and praying that AI is directed in the most productive manner for mankind. And we yet have to tap the potential of our own consciousness because that's where it's stemming out of. Ji, Mummy, would you like to take it over, Ji?
Yes, beta. Thank you. We thought of Kartik Sharma. Kartik, you will introduce yourself as I welcome you. But what we thought of you, Kartik, we thought about you when it was in the newspapers that India hosted the Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence, and it concluded about 2 days ago. And I read a piece on India intelligence, artificial intelligence, how to lead the coming technology revolution, an article written by Mr. Amitabh Kant. When I read this article in the Times of India of, I think, which was of uh, 15th December, it was this Friday, this article which I read. I read this article here. See this? Show it carefully. This article. So when I read this article, I thought of you. And I said, when India is holding this global conference, global partnership, and this article also talked about the revolution and the $1 trillion revolution and millions of jobs which it had created. We thought our own children from the book reading sessions, they're always very curious and inquisitive to know, and some of them are representing the book reading. And Karthik, you are aware of the book reading sessions we have. You're aware since you and I have been working with each other now for last over 3 years. We connected with Pondicherry times, in fact, COVID times, wasn't it? And then you started to volunteer. In fact, you were so wonderful that you volunteered. Ki, ma'am, I want to work with your children of the downtrodden, marginalized sections in Navjyoti India Foundation. And then I connected you with Neetu Sharma, the director of the programs, and you start to work with our children and you got them introduced to artificial intelligence and they're learning and they're doing very well. So you turned out to be a very, very large-hearted volunteer, spending your very valuable, precious time with them. Your heart is in the right place. So we thought that why not our children of the book reading sessions, that there are more than a constituency of more than 1,000 of them. They and their parents, their homes could hear you. So over to you, Karthik. Just briefly introduce yourself so that children know what your expertise. I know you've written books for the standard of these before 12th standard. You've written books for 11th, 10th, 9th standard. I think you can tell them about your books too. And now go ahead and tell them all about artificial intelligence and what is it that they need to know now.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for having me. Namaste to everyone. Thanks, Aina, for introducing and connecting me. And you're right. I think the recent article which you talked about, I also had a look at it. And hosting the Global Artificial Intelligence Alliance was a big step in our country to take leadership on the global AI stage. In terms of my background, for all the audience members who have joined in, my focus revolves around three areas. One is AI implementation. When I say AI, it includes its components like data science, computer vision, and natural language processing, which are the large language models like ChatGPT you've heard of. Second, my work revolves around skilling. So I'm part of the Sector Skill Council, MEPSC under NSGC. I sit on the board of governors for that. I've also written books on AI. I also engage with a lot of educational institutions around implementation of AI for school students as well as for higher education students and link it to employability. And third, my work of area of work, it revolves around policy advocacy in terms of how AI can be made more explainable, it can be made more safe, it can be made more ethical. So I engage in various forums and government, semi-government committees around FICCI, All India Management Association, and other industry bodies to help make a sustainable framework for fair use of AI in public life, in governance, as well as for B2C users. So with that, what I wanted to do today, and I've been watching the book reading sessions for quite some time. It's a brilliant initiative. My best wishes to Saina and Kiran Vediji for starting this. And I think as a avid book reader myself, I think it's amazing to be able to create a community of people who like to read books, who like to share stories, and I think it just helps in bringing the overall understanding and median level of reading higher when you have a community of passionate book readers who want to not only consume knowledge but also share with each other. So my best wishes to you for starting this. What I thought I'll do today is, since I know I have 6 to 7 minutes to start it, and then of course I'll be, very happy to take on questions from our young innovators and explorers today. So what I thought I'll do is, maybe since it's a book reading club, I wrote a very short story for a minute or minute and a half. I thought I'll read out that story, which is around AI, to get the ball rolling, and then I have a short video which I wanted to show you to explain you how AI is so pervasive in our daily life, and it's not just limited to what's happening at the global stage, what's happening in large companies, but how as an individual we are also surrounded by AI. And then I'll take your questions. So to begin with, I wanted to share this short story which I have written. It's called Adventures in AI: The Curious Robot Named Robo. So, today we'll embark on this thrilling adventure journey to discover the world of artificial intelligence where AI, robots, technology, and imagination come to life. Let's imagine a land very, very far away where there lived a curious robot whose name was Robo. Robo loved exploring and learning new things. One day, while wandering into the forest, Robo stumbled upon something magical: a talking tree. As Robo approached this talking tree, Robo said, "Hi, tree, I've been waiting for you." And he said, "I'm here to tell you about artificial intelligence, or AI for short." The talking tree replied to Robo saying that, "What is AI?" To which Robo said, "AI is like a super brain for robots. It helps them think, learn, and do amazing things, just like you and I use our brain to learn and explore. Let's imagine together," the talking tree said. "Can you think, Robo, of creating a product which can help create a magical garden in which there could be more trees like me?" Excited about this, the possibility of this adventure, Robo set out to learn how to plant a magical garden with the help of AI. With AI's guidance, Robo learned about different plants, soil types, and how much sunlight they need to grow and how much water they need. And the Robo started working on it. As Robo's magical garden grew, so did its knowledge. And from that day on, Robo realized that with the power of AI and a curious mind, anything is possible. Now, that's an incredible adventure, right? Now, think of the possibilities which Robo can take along. And just like Robo, each one of you has the power to explore, learn, and grow. Who knows what amazing things all of you will discover by AI at your disposal. So that's the short story which I wanted to talk about. Now, with this context, Shakira ma'am, if I can request you to play a small video which I've shared with you. This video is of Mark Zuckerberg, who is the famous founder of Facebook, now called Meta. And this video shares that how he himself is using AI in his house and how it is so permeated in his day-to-day life. And I thought it will give you some context that while sometimes it feels very hi-fi concept that what AI can do, how is it built, but I think it's very important to see it's very tangible and how you can really experience it. So Shakira ma'am, could we play the video if it's possible?
Good morning, Jarvis.
Good morning, Mark. It's Saturday, so you only have 5 meetings. Room temperature is set to a cool 68 degrees.
Earlier this year, I started building a simple AI to help run our home. I talked to Jarvis using this app I built. It uses artificial intelligence to understand me and figure out what to do.
Max woke up a few minutes ago. I'm entertaining her.
All right, let's go check on her.
Good morning, Max. Let's practice our Mandarin. Ming Yu, Zhao Shong Mao.
Jarvis, your Mandarin is so soothing.
Xie.
Jarvis also helps me get ready in the morning. Fresh shirt.
Fire in the hole.
Hell yeah. Jarvis knows when to make me breakfast.
Your toast is ready.
All right. It's time for my call with Shrep. Can you get him on the video conference line?
Setting up the VC room now. Remember to check on the AI guidance system for Aquila.
One of the best things about Jarvis is it could recognize people at the gate, let them in automatically, and then just tell me about it.
Mark, your parents are coming in.
Thanks, Jeffrey.
It's Jarvis.
And Jarvis can play all of our favorite music. Hey, play us some good Nickelback songs.
I'm sorry, Mark. I'm afraid I can't do that. There are no good Nickelback songs.
Good. That was actually a test. Okay, how about just play some songs that our whole family likes?
The itsy bitsy spider climbed up the water spout.
What? I'm a dad now. This is what I listen to. Jarvis also likes to join our family for playtime. Who should we tickle next?
I think we should tickle Max.
I'm also experimenting with other voices.
Stop her! She's getting away! Do it now!
And if I don't want to talk, I can just text Jarvis through a messenger bot that I built.
Mark, I'm trying to read in here.
Yeah, my bad. So this has been pretty fun, but I need some more ideas for Jarvis, so leave them in the comments and I'll try to build some of them. All right, movie time, Jarvis.
You got it, Mark.
First, I need to teach you to make me some more popcorn.
So as you saw, these are some very light and interesting possibilities with AI, right from using it to detect who's at your doorstep, using a simple chatbot to control devices in your home, as well as using it to connect it, with your toaster, with your microwave, with your lights. And I think these are real possibilities of AI all around us. So I think with this context, we can start a conversation with some of you. I know you guys have a lot of questions, but I'm happy to take on the first one and set the theme.
Beta, go ahead, Beta. Ask the question, Beta.
May I suggest, Saina, may I suggest all of them speak their question and Kartik gets the answer quickly, or we go one by one. We go one by one.
Yes, we'll
Okay,
go one.
let's go one by one.
Raj,
So-
ask your question.
Ask your question.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, Saina, ma'am. Good evening, Kartik, sir.
Good evening, Raj.
So, as you mentioned, a line in the end of the story that with the diversity of knowledge and the curiosity to implement it, anything is possible. So, my question is, in today's era itself, 40 to 50% of the work in medical sector is done by AI and machines. So, is there any kind of possibility that in future the major things will be done by AI and machines? And the main part of the question, will it ever take the place of doctors?
So you are right. In medical field, I think there are three broad components, right? One is the whole process of, and we were just talking about as well when we started, the whole concept of prognosis/diagnosis, right? That's one area. Second is the actual healthcare intervention, which is maybe giving you some medicines or operating you or providing some sort of care. And then third aspect of it is post-care or recovery. Now, if you look at all these three components in prognosis/diagnosis, it's been in a way proven with some empirical data that AI could actually make better decisions around prognosis diagnosis because it relies mostly on data, and the levels of accuracy which we have now is extremely high. When I say high, it's to the range of 96 to 98%, right? Although there are still some dangers of false positive or false negative. So in cases of high risk diseases, let's say if you were doing a prognosis or diagnosis of something like a cold or a stomach problem, right? That's fine. Maybe you could rely on AI. But let's say if you're talking about something which is high stakes, like a cancer, in that case, do you rely solely on AI, or do you still have a second opinion with a real human doctor? That's a case to be discussed and presented. So I think that 40 to 50% number which you talked about definitely sits well with the first phase. If I talk about the second one, which is the actual intervention, now in that, if you talk about surgeries or operative procedures, we have robotic surgeries, laparoscopy, so on and so forth, and certain non-invasive processes as well, which again have been doing extremely accurately by AI. A lot of eye operations. So eye is extremely tricky because the real estate is so small, and you have to make decisions during the operation which involve almost micrometer or nanometer tolerance, right? And after performing three or more than, and this was something I was told, ma'am, that after performing more than three surgeries in a day, there is micro tremor which happens in your hand, which is something even the best and the most experienced surgeon cannot avoid. It's just there after you perform an hour and a half surgery. More than two, there's definite micro tremor, which gets completely eliminated if you are using robotic surgeons, right? And that's something which is happening extremely potently now. So even in the second one, I think almost 70 to 80% operative procedures are moving towards robotic surgeries. The third one, I think, is an interesting one, which is post care slash recovery. I think that's where still a lot of human intervention would remain, because when you talk about somebody is in ICU or is recovering in a medical room, they want to have a talk to a real human person, whether it's a nurse or a medical assistant or a doctor, right? And you need a lot of pastoral care. You need care around even supporting them, bathing them, taking care of them. I think that care, empathy, and pastoral care cannot be replaced through AI. So I think in that aspect, there will be a significant amount of real human intervention, that touch and feel of a human being who says, "Koi baat nahi, ठीक हो जाओगे, recovery अच्छी चल रही है." Versus a monotone of a robot saying that your parameters are this, it's going to increase by this level, and when this happens, we will release you. So I think that's something that consultation, that empathy will be hard to replace. So I think that's the way I look at AI in healthcare.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Raj.
Go to the next question.
Akriti?
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, sir. Sir, I wanted to ask you, do you think that AI can be developed with ethics? Like in the movie 2.0, we see how Chitty saved a girl's life, but he does not understand that she was naked or anything. So, matlab, do you think that the AI will be developed in such a way that that it can face social challenges and accept like social ethics? He can understand social ethics.
Sorry, Akriti, the first part of your question was not very clear. Did you say how AI?
Akriti, say it again. Yes, say it again, please, Peter.
Like in the movie 2.0, we see like a robot was invented by a human. He was Chitty, so in that we see that the robot saves a girl's life, but he does not understand, or like he does not know that the girl is naked, and matlab, he does not understand like how the society takes it. So do you think that AI can be developed in such a manner that matlab, it can know how to face like social challenges and and understand the ethics of the society?
So a lot of AI development, Akriti, depends on the training data which is fetched into it, right? So think of it in a layman's term as akin to a baby, right? When a baby is born, they have zero training data, right? But along the way, as they get explicit inputs from their parents and their environment, and sometimes as they grow a bit old, they are also able to extract information on their own without being explicitly fed to them, right? They don't need to be always told. And think of AI systems as very similar. that they will learn explicitly from training data, but then when they are in the real world and they are getting tested by the actual test data and the stimulus in the environment, they also learn on the go. So those are the two sources of training AI. So depending upon if your training data, let's say, was not very inclusive or did not have uh, those ethics, understanding of society built in, and then when the system is tested in the real world, there would be certain response. So any action would have a reaction. Let's say if AI today, and you all of you might have used, let's say, Chat GPT or any other AI system. After giving a response, it says give a thumbs up or thumbs down, right? So basically, what that is doing is it's something called in technical terms as reinforcement learning, which is how human beings also learn. A child will do something and they will look at you for reaction. So if you are smiling and you're okay, they understand, okay, this is a acceptable no. But if you say no, 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 beta, ye nahi karna, rakho, mat jao, so then they know, okay, this is something which is possibly not socially acceptable. So just drawing a parallel between a child and an AI system, that the AI system also tend to learn by reinforcement, which is inherent reward or penalizing them for every action they do. And in terms of a systemic structure or framework to make it more socially responsible and aware, there are certain concepts like ethics by design, wherein while you're designing a AI system, you can build in capabilities of ethics. You can also make sure that your input data is very diverse and inclusive. There was a very interesting case which happened in US many years ago. I don't know if you guys followed or not. What happened was that in a very fancy five-star hotel in US, a black guy was trying to use a soap dispenser, and it didn't work. He tried for 5 6 times. Then suddenly he recorded this video, so it's available on internet. You can check. And he called a white colleague that, can you use the soap? And it worked for that person. So he sued the hotel saying that your uh, AI system soap dispenser is racially discriminatory. So finally, what happened? Long story short, that most of the soap dispenser in hotels or public places you see are built on motion sensor. So whenever you put your hand below it, the soap falls, right? But many times you would have seen by the time you remove it, soap niche ही चला जाता है. And there is a lot of soap deposit which is there below the soap dispenser. So what this hotel was trying to do was they used a photo sensor, that whenever the distribution of light changes, it will work. But they used only, because it was an American system, they only used white people data to train it. So when there was a dark skinned person who used it, it couldn't detect any difference in the spectral analysis. So there was no variation in the photometry. So that's why he was not able to use it. So sometimes when you're looking at building AI systems, you also have to think about your audience and not in naivety create something which you think is super cool, but it doesn't cater to a wide variety of consumers who will interact with the AI system. So I think there are umpty number of such examples. So to your point, Akriti, it's very important to use reinforcement learning and have a diverse set of data to train that AI system.
जी, thank you.
Pretty
Ragini?
interesting. Pretty interesting. The color of the skin. Now, how many there will be? There will be brown, and there'll be black, and there'll be white and pink.
Right. So your training
So
data
see,
has to include all these skin types.
yeah,
You cannot
yeah,
just use a certain demographic. And that a
yeah.
similar problem, ma'am, there were certain platforms which during COVID were trying to use face detection for sign on, right? Even in education domain, and they didn't train it for a certain category of, let's say, Arabic population. There, when the teacher entered in the classroom, they were wearing hijab, and it couldn't use because they were using face recognition system. So that entire system failed because they didn't cater to diversity of consumers who would interact with the product. And that's very important to make a more democratic system which could be used by all fairly.
Similarly, would be the language issues, and similarly would be the voice issues.
Absolutely. Even within language, ma'am, there are issues of accents. Like if you talk about India, right? I mean, Hindi is spoken very differently in Haryana versus, in Madhya Pradesh, because they will always have an interplay of their own language. Like they will mix Bundelkhandi and Hindi with certain words. So a lot of systems, they tend to fail because they work on clinical data of a certain language. They cannot do this interplay of local dialects built into a super language.
So does it say the limitation of the, when you create such a program like this, does it say that this is bit catered to the following only as so far fed? Because it needs regular feeding. It's like nutritioning, it's like training, it's like updating.
Absolutely, man. So that's why simplest example is when you, let's say, use Google, right, for search using voice, or you use Google Maps using voice. I mean, I've seen, like, even my, for example, driver uses voice, and then it will always say, "This is the suggested result. Did you mean this or something else?" Now, if you say something else, then you type, and then it trains itself saying that, okay, when you hear this kind of voice tonality or these words which are not in your standard database, then enough people say that these kind of voice intonations mean probably this word. So what we need to understand is AI systems are stochastic or probabilistic in nature. So they will always assign a probability. So if I say uh, something very quickly, right, which is not very clear, an AI system would decipher that, okay, these are three, four possible things which he probably meant. And then if enough people say, yes, this is what it means, then it will start to recognize that as the preferred outcome of that input.
If you're talking about Google, there was a Google map where two doctors from Delhi were taken by that map. You know that map which comes up, which is called
Yes,
Google Map, and
yes.
they were driving. It was raining, and it was raining, and it was all dark on the road. And the driver was guided on a particular road for these doctors who were being driven into the river, because the road, and it could not distinguish the grays between the road and the water, and the driver drove the car into the water, into the river, and the doctors got drowned.
So these are
This is a
possible. I mean,
recent.
I'm not aware of this particular case, but I've heard stories wherein a lot of times data does not get updated because a certain route may be closed or a certain crossing may have been rerouted in a way, and that data takes some time to get reflected. And I've heard horror stories of people getting stuck in
Yeah.
a cul-de-sac. They didn't know where to go because it navigated them wrong. So those are definitely the limitations. But I think if you see at a high level from a Pareto's law, I mean, 80-90% of cases you will be good with Google Maps. That's why people still tend to use them and prefer them. But
Yeah,
those edge cases, corner cases would obviously remain with any technology.
quite right. Akriti, are you okay with the answer?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's hear the other.
Yes, yes. Ragini?
Good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
Pita. Good
Yes.
evening. Go ahead. Ji.
Uh, Good evening, sir. I wanted to ask, like, we are developing AI and we are working on it. So, how AI can contribute to the global issues like poverty, climate change types?
So there is a big committee within UN. It's called AI and SDGs, which are the Sustainable Development Goals. So I think what you've picked are probably two of the 17 SDG goals which exist, which include education, healthcare, climate change, poverty. And I think if I talk about specific use case, and you can check, there's something called unsdg.org or a website. I'm happy to share the link with you. You can look at, there is a complete framework. But some examples which have been captured in the study there is let's say for poverty, what happens? One of the biggest problems is to be able to identify who's really poor. Now, even in a country like ours, you will see there is massive amount of disparity in terms of data discovery and data reporting to be able to figure out the real household income. It's a big gray area for a variety of reasons, which we'll probably not get into today. But people are using AI, for example, to capture satellite data in the night to see which areas are well lit versus which areas are not so well lit, which is a proxy of electrification in those areas or people having access to um, you know um, instruments or devices which use electricity at night. It's a good proxy data. So those kind of proxy informations are being used. Then AI is also being used for enabling payment systems or AI powered fintech solutions for financial inclusion through microfinance to be able to do direct benefit transfer using AI and blockchain. So those kind of beneficiary remediation is something which AI is used for. Then AI is also used in poverty elevation through educational intervention. One of the big ways in which you can solve poverty issue, at least over a generation, is to be able to provide them access to quality education. So that's where also AI is being used. If I talk about climate change, now in climate change, and recently there was COP which was held in Abu Dhabi, and you can again have a look at certain initiatives which were discussed there. But a high level view would be there is a big focus right now on reduction of emissions. So in emissions, if you look at the standards, there is scope 1, scope 2, scope 3, so on and so forth, which in layman terms would mean the way you can control emissions directly under your control, your vendors, your customers. And AI can be used in optimizing, logistic systems or transportation systems to reduce emissions. AI can also be used in climate modeling. Now, there is a big problem. The Paris Agreement says 1.5 degree. Now we are trying to agree on 2 degrees. But even to be able to monitor and measure some of these numbers, which are used very easily in conversations, AI can be used for that. Even for weather prediction models, which is so hard to do, AI is being increasingly used by weather departments all over the world. So both for weather prediction and climate modeling, you could use AI. AI is also being used for optimizing energy consumption, for facilitating smart grids, for even doing seamless transition between non-renewable and renewable energy into a same consolidated grid. AI-powered engines are also being used again for monitoring and managing natural resources like forest using drones, and even for water bodies. AI-built robots are being used to do undersea monitoring in terms of detecting the plastic waste which is there and identify. One of the basic uses of AI is over large areas like a forest land or a water land. How can you identify the concentrated areas in which you need action to be taking place? So that's how that's some of the ways in which you could use AI for these SDGs. But I'll also give you the link of AI and SDG which the UN has. That website I'll send you. And there's a very good paper also, which I'll just put it on the chat here. You can read this if you are interested to know more.
So it is
Thank you.
yeah, it is satellite driven input. So probably the satellite above and the information fed into the data. Isn't it?
Yes.
Is it
So satellite is the input, satellite or even for local range, it could be drones, which give you imagery data. And then on
yeah,
top of that imagery data, think of it as an input for the AI model. And then the
exactly.
processing could happen using AI.
G. Next question, beta. I- I'm not being able to see the screen. Naman, yes.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Naman.
Good evening, ma'am and sir. Sir, my question is that My question is that why AI seems to be more disadvantageous rather than advantageous as a whole in the current scenario? Can it be curbed in a substantial manner?
So if I heard you right, Naman, you are saying that why is AI more disadvantageous than its benefits? Is that what you're saying? Naman?
Yes, he's asking both the sides
Sir, my
of AI.
Let him ask again.
Yes.
Naman?
Yeah. So maybe
sir, my
I'll
question
give
was
you
that
my input. Yeah, Naman.
sir, why AI is seems to be more disadvantageous rather than advantageous as a whole? Can it be curbed
So does
in
it,
substantial manner?
so it seems like that to you, or what makes you feel that way?
Sir, for example, the most stirring of all the cases is the deepfake, which is now commonly in India, sir. In the current scenario, sir. From that conclusion, sir. From
Got
that
it.
perspective.
So if we look at the advantages of AI, I think we're all aware of. We've been talking about it for last half an hour, and you have read about it. If I talk about the disadvantages of AI, or I would not say disadvantages, but I would say the current constraints around AI, if I may like to reword it, are I think one of the biggest issues is ethical constraints. So AI systems, I give you that example of hotel and even ma'am talked about that doctors who were driving into a river. So there are certain constraints around discriminatory outcomes and ethical issues around privacy, surveillance, and potential use of misuse of AI. So that's definitely one area. Second, I think is around possibility of jobs being replaced with AI. That's a real challenge, and I think there was a time when people used to put it under the covers, but now I think there is a definite threat, at least of. I wouldn't say that AI would sort of take away jobs and replace people, but people who know AI will definitely replace people who do not know and understand AI. So that is a real possibility. I mean, then it's up to you whether you take it as a disadvantage, or you take it as a or writing on the wall, or you take it as an opportunity to upskill yourself in AI. I mean, that's where different sides of coin, right? The way you want to see it. So that's a real sort of development which is happening. You may take it as a negative connotation, but I see it as an opportunity. The third is the dependency and reliability of AI systems. So in certain cases like healthcare, in case of cybersecurity, the more you concentrate systems. So Cisco was estimating that there'll be 15 20 billion devices which are connected. So more connected devices means better experience, but it also means more concentrated risk. So now it is possible, and it happened last year for a US city, or 2021, I think, where a hacker was able to hack a whole city in US for a few seconds because all the systems were connected, right from electricity to road transportation, traffic lights, everything, like the typical movie scene where you could actually control the whole city if you hack into the system because everything is so well connected. Then I think the other disadvantage slash constraint is that how human to human interaction would happen with AI systems coming into place is a big uncharted territory. So in South Korea and certain countries, there is hybrid workplaces now where you have a robo or a humanoid co-worker. Now, what that means in terms of your regular HR policies and procedures is a big question mark. So, for example, in India and in many countries, you have a Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act, right? Where you could take somebody to disciplinary committee if somebody made any derogatory comments or remarks. But let's say you have a humanoid or an AI co-worker like a Sophia, and a human co-worker makes derogatory remarks to a humanoid who identifies itself as a female, or a AI humanoid making derogatory remarks to a human female. Now, how does the interplay of these interactions, human human, human AI, and AI AI, how does that come together in a blended workplace environment or a society at large, what it means for rights and privileges in those interactions for both the parties, right? Or the famous still a legal debate of what if a driverless car kills somebody, right? So those kind of ethical dilemmas, I think, are still constraints of AI, and there is a need for a very strong regulatory and a legal framework to sit on top of some of these innovations, to be able to make sense of it. And I think those are some of the constraints which may seem that AI has a lot of disadvantages. But I think with time, just like any technology, I think we'll be able to make peace with it. I remember when I was growing up as a kid, there used to be a debate like cable TV ban or boon, right? Then when I went into college, there was a debate internet ban or boon. And now it's AI ban or boon. So with heavy technology, I think every decade or so, this is the typical debate in school competition, that whether it's a ban or boon. But I think with time, when enough positives come out of a technology or an innovation which impacts society at large, I think people figure out ways to manage the downside risk of using that technology, and this is what's going to happen even with AI.
Karthik, can you explain the meaning of algorithms and how algorithms are playing a very vital role in artificial intelligence usage?
So algorithm sits as a backbone of any computer program. So AI is, let's say, an advanced version of a simple computer program. But any computer program would have some sort of algorithm. Now, algorithm is nothing but a set of how should I say, a set of rules or processes. You might have seen the decision metrics and those control loop flows in your computer classes as well, wherein an algorithm could be for anything. I mean, there is a very famous book, I think, called Algorithm of Life or something like this, wherein even whatever you do in your daily life, how you decide, let's say, which career you want to opt for, there could be an algorithm for it. What do you want to eat today? There could be a simple decision flow and an algorithm for it, that I the options are, let's say, Chinese, Indian, Italian. If a Chinese place is open at this time within next 20 minutes of travel, then I'll do Chinese. If it's close, then I'll choose between. So just like anything you do in your daily life also, there is an algorithm based on which you undertake a decision, you make a choice, an informed choice. Similarly, software programs also use algorithms to decide the outcome or execution, right? So I think algorithms make the backbone of any decision making process, whether it's in our personal lives or in AI systems. And whenever you look at AI systems, my suggestion would be to just think of it like a human being, that if you were to take a decision, right? I mean, in fact, you would be amazed to know that now there are companies who are making products which they call decision making outsourcing. So they are saying, why do you even need a CEO in a company? We will build a AI system that will take decisions. What does your CEO do? He or she looks at various MIS reports, data, talks to different departments, and then based on his or her judgment and macroeconomic environment, they take a call, right? That call can be taken by AI. In fact, a human CEO could have potential conflicts of interest, could have certain parallel transactions or independent conflict, due to which their decision may be biased in some way. But if you have a true AI system which is backed by a solid algorithm, it would end up probably making a better decision for shareholders. Then that gets extended to a AI based judiciary system, where you have a AI, and this is something which they are testing out in various countries, wherein, let's say, you and me go to court, and you have a AI lawyer for yourself, and I have a AI lawyer for myself. Both of them know our case history. They know the preceding judgments and precedents. They have seen they can do entire case research, both of us, and we come up with odds that, okay, Kiran ma'am's lawyer will say The odds for this case is 70 to 30. My lawyer will say, okay, it's 60-40. Net, we negotiate and say, hey, the odds are that she'll win the case. We'll go to a AI-enabled arbitrator who will take a decision. That imagine the amount of the drainage which you will remove or dependency you will remove on the conventional legal system. Because ultimately, when you know how there is going to be with the algorithm, you know how a potential case would unfold itself based on all the information, you could actually save time by not going to litigation. And through a AI-enabled arbitrator, you can solve it probably better. So I think those are some of the possibilities once you build a solid algorithm and have enough sane data to train it on. I think you could definitely have better outcomes.
Are these algorithms man-made and they develop further on their own, or what happens?
So typically, the first set of algorithms which we talk about are women man-made. But with AI, what happens is it's like a Rubik's cube which solves itself. So you can have generative algorithms which can start with a certain pre-trained algorithm by a human being, and then it can further improve itself based on seeing the outcome. So there are two types of learning in AI. One is called supervised learning, and the other is called unsupervised learning. Supervised learning is where you have a certain set of input data available, and based on that you define a output model. So we have all studied in mathematics y is equal to fx, right? So for supervised learning you would have x1 x2 up to xn, and there is a clearly defined function wherein you know y1 is equal to fx1, y2 equal to fx2, and so on and so forth. But in unsupervised learning, what happens is you do not have this relationship established. There is no y equal to fx. You have to, the AI algorithm has to decide what is the function. So that's similar to what you are talking about, ma'am, that with unsupervised learning systems or deep learning techniques, the AI system on its own adapts the algorithm to see the best fit to make sense of the pattern. So everything in AI in unsupervised learning revolves around pattern detection. So if you're able to detect a pattern, and it's very similar again to the way human beings work, right? What do human beings do? If you go into extreme theory of AI, it says that every living second, what is a human being doing? So if I ask you, there are two things which we are constantly doing, and I'm not saying the biological like breathing and all, it's the obvious ones, but there are two things our brain is constantly doing every living second. What are those? Can you guys guess or take a shot at it?
Children, respond.
Sir, can you please repeat the question?
Yeah.
So I'm saying that a human brain, every living second, like me, you, right now, the brain is doing two things constantly. Non-biological, I'm saying. What are those two things? Which actually sets the algorithm also. And this is how, yeah, Raj.
Thinking.
So like learning, observing the things which we are seeing. Like every second.
Yeah, learning, observing. What else?
Connecting. It's connecting to what it's observing.
Connecting.
Analyzing, storing, responding.
Kartik ji, it's thinking and it's feeling.
Thinking and feeling. So again, feeling becomes a slightly biological
It's
phenomenon,
thinking.
but it's
Thinking.
related to, yeah. So
It's storing, connecting.
Storing, connecting. So if you all sort of segregate them into two classes, so the input for the brain is in a way the eyes, right? So whatever is consumed through eyes, ears, and the five sensory. So that's the input data. Then on those input data, the brain does two things: search and anticipate. So whenever, let's say, I'm talking to you or listening to you, whatever data I consume, let's say I'm saying something, when you consume it through your eyes, ears, you are searching in your brain constantly कि ऐसा कुछ मैंने सुना है या ये जो बोल रहा है वो मेरे कहीं डेटाबेस में ऐसा कुछ है so you will connect with it, otherwise you will add it in your database. Okay, there's something new he's talking about, and then you are anticipating every second, you are subconsciously anticipating कि ये next क्या बोलने वाला है. Whenever we're talking to somebody, you do it next time. When you talk to somebody, you're constantly searching whatever that person is saying in your database, and then you're anticipating the next thing. These are the two things which we constantly do in our brain. And this is what our AI system also does, constantly trying to search in their database. If it does not exist, append it, add it to the memory, and then anticipate using pattern recognition. कि ये कौन, जैसे हम कई बार बात करते हैं ना, जब हमें समझ नहीं आता बोलते हैं यार तू बोल क्या रहा है. That's basically your brain giving up कि वो सर्च कर रहा है और कुछ पैटर्न नहीं मिल रहा है. So your brain gives you a signal कि बहुत समझ नहीं आ रहा है क्या बोलना चाह रहा है. That's the frustration. That similar thing happens.
Like Raj Aryan says, please say your question. What were you saying? Raj ने यही पूछा ना.
Exactly.
सर्च कर रहा था कि मुझे नया है ये मुझे नहीं पता.
हाँ, वो कीवर्ड्स बोले कहीं समझ में नहीं आए कुछ मतलब. So that pattern he was not able to figure out. So his brain gives a fuzzy answer कि बॉस दोबारा से इनपुट ले, मे बी क्वेरी दोबारा रन होगी, शायद कुछ मिल जाएगा.
Yes.
So this is how AI system also thinks and works. कभी कभी आप chat GPT use करोगे or you will use any AI system, you give a very long input और वो output ऐसे ही आएगा कि sorry not sure, I'm not able to find an answer, because the moment the input becomes fuzzy or vague, the AI systems fail. But then we don't recognize कि human brain भी तो ऐसा ही है. We also fail in those systems when the input is vague. So I think it's very interesting to always compare it with your brain and see how you think. And AI is very similar in many ways.
So are you saying artificial intelligence like a human brain? You are all creating a brain with all its grooves, so that हर एक area में कहीं ना कहीं बैठा रहे और वो connect भी करे, chapter भी बने.
Absolutely. In fact, I was a few months back in Google headquarters in Palo Alto, and it was a very interesting conversation. I said, what do you guys think of AI? या AI के बारे में आपने सोचना क्यों शुरू किया? And a very interesting answer this guy gave me, senior guy at Google. He said, human beings in their lifetime sleep for 33% of their life, give or take, right? And the remaining 66% they are awake. They operate at least 40 to 50% efficiency, because आप खाना भी खाते हो, आपको घूमना भी है, फैमिली के टाइम भी स्पेंड करना है, खेलना भी है, डरना. So essentially the whole women, mankind or society at large is operating at 36 to 37% productivity. The whole society. Now that's a very scary proposition कि पूरी society सिर्फ 37% पे operate कर रही है. If you were into manufacturing or any business, and if I tell you कि आपके assets 37% पे operate कर रहे हैं, you'll be like, this is a bloody bad business. कर क्या रहे हैं हम? 37% पे operate कर रही है पूरा business plant, कुछ करो. So that's why you need a alter ego or an alter intelligent workforce to supplement or augment the productivity of society. And that's how some of these organizations look at AI. If I'm able to create a second version of Kartik who's probably more smarter, more intelligent, who has learned from mistakes of me, then I'm able to at least do an immediate 2x of my productivity. And when you bulk it up at a societal level, you are able to create and augment more intelligence who could work 24/7 and make up for the reduced delta of your suboptimal productivity as a human being, and that AI can augment it. So if you think it in that sense, there could be a higher purpose of innovating and building AI. Who knows?
Fantastic. So you're making a human brain and a machine which works 24/7.
24/7, never gets tired.
And never gets tired, never goes to sleep.
Never goes to sleep, always improving. So I was having this conversation with a company and said, yeah, that sales team के बारे में बात हो रही थी, and there is a tool in which you can do calling like business development using AI. And I'll put the tool here in chat also. You guys can check it out. So in this, what happens is this will call. It can be modeled after my voice, my tone, my past 500 calls I made to customers, and it can be a Kartik's digital twin to make sales calls. And then this CX of the company said, "यार ये तो amazing है, because my guy calls और 5-6 rejections के बाद उसकी प्रोडक्टिविटी और मोटिवेशन एकदम डिक्रीज हो जाती है, राइट? मॉर्निंग में सेल्स वाले एकदम पंप एंड शो से आते हैं, दोपहर तक कुछ कन्वर्जन नहीं हुई तो एनर्जी ड्रॉप्स, राइट? और somebody let's say is a notice period, जॉब छोड़ रहे हैं, उसका इंटरेस्ट ही नहीं है काम करने का. So this is a AI enabled employee, is an employee who never gets tired, who's never biased, who's always motivated, always encouraged, always giving the best shot in every transaction. It's an ideal employee, right?
Fantastic.
We've got Ananya's question to go. Ananya, you'll ask.
Good evening, everyone. My question is, in the ever-evolving field of AI, what challenges has your organization encountered, and how you and your team overcome the challenges which you have faced?
Right. So I think one of the biggest, I could bundle or unbundle it into 3 broad challenges. One is for sure the technical challenge. AI is such an evolving field that every day it's one of probably the only field. Like if you compare it to other industry, like pharmaceuticals में once in every few months or years कोई एक नया drug निकलता है, right? FMCG में every few months a new product comes in, so on and so forth. But AI is the only field in which every day new models are coming up, right? So to be able to keep a pace with whatever is happening in the world of AI is a challenge, and it requires a lot of keeping yourself up to date and to be able to be in the ecosystem to understand. So I think that's one. Second, I think is skilling. So to be able to get people who are skilled in artificial intelligence, who understand how it works, who are hands-on, I think that at scale becomes a bit of a challenge to hire and get those people who understand these technologies. So I think that's the second challenge which one faces. Then third, I think is that's a bit of technical question, but it's like the compute resources you need. So AI models are very compute heavy. So you use GPUs, TPUs, right, which are very expensive. You might have read in the news that there is big shortage of AI infused silicon chips. Nvidia stock has tripled in the last few months because there's just so much of demand for compute power, and countries like US, China, and Saudi of all the countries that are lapping up these resources. So I think that becomes a challenge for us as well, to be able to tap into the compute resources as a young organization. How do you do that when a lot of large companies are monopolizing compute resources and they are forcing small companies to mandatorily just use? So if today, let's say you want to use a cloud server, where do you go? An Azure or AWS? There is no third credible option. And that's why now India is thinking of something like an open compute, wherein you could contribute your compute resources into a common pool and take it back. So, I mean, those kind of initiatives, I think, would solve a big problem for startups to be able to get access to affordable compute power to run AI models.
Excellent.
I
think we can those people who've only heard us and questions could not be asked. Kartik, would you like to share anything which if any student wants to connect with you?
Sure, they can drop me an email or WhatsApp, anything.
Would you share an email if it's not going to be burdensome?
No, I'll write it in the chat.
Here, let's speak it out or write it on the chat.
I'll write it on the chat.
Here, Kartik Sharma at
agmitio.in.
Give it again. Put it again. Position it again. Post it again.
Yes, ma'am.
Here, and you even, I think the Shivani can circulate the email and the WhatsApp number so that Kartik can be consulted. You can treat him as your mentor in artificial intelligence, boys and girls. Okay? Because you are going to grow and you will have questions to ask, and you'll have chapters and subjects. So you can have him as your mentor on the PR. We will keep him as a mentor for us on artificial intelligence for the book reading community. Okay, okay, boys and girls? All right? So, Karthi, Shivani will share with you, just as she shares the morning nutrition with you, or
Yes.
Shakira, any one of them. We will share his email with you and the WhatsApp, and you can connect with him for any questions you could ask and clarify. But you'll all have many questions as you grow, because you're going to be learning, and maybe you'll become artificial intelligence engineers, contributors yourself, technology leaders yourself. So we have given you a mentor in Kartik Sharma today, and also he has books which he'll check with his publisher if he can share whatever he can share and guide you further. However, Kartik, if you have any point to share on artificial intelligence, please share it with Saina or Shakira or Shivani, and we can then put it into the community group.
Sure, ma'am.
So that our children of the BR, book reading community, can be updated by you. They can have you as a mentor on artificial intelligence.
Sure, ma'am. My pleasure.
Just as you're doing with Navjyoti and working with Neetu, I think you can also be working with Saina and the team here on the demonstrative learning channel.
Sure,
Okay,
ma'am.
Saina? So you can say thank you. I beg leave, I've got to rush. You can say thank you. Kartik, thank you so much. You're always very large-hearted in your time, and you would certainly love to teach. I've noticed that. You're always there to say, come and padhao hame sikhao. And you're so large-hearted. In fact, Kartik is always wanting to teach and share, and he volunteers his own time. I think boys and girls, you need to learn from him. He's always wanting to share his technical knowledge. And the best part is he's always learning. And he's an author of your. Can you mention the names of your books?
Yes, ma'am.
Mention the names of your books. Speak your name. Speak the name.
Essentials of AI, ma'am. I'll write it on the chat.
Essentials of AI. So, children, these are books available in the market for your class students. Essentials of AI by Kartik Sharma. You can even pick up these books from the market. Okay? All right, Saina, I'll beg leave. I have to rush too. Thank you, Kartik.
Sure.
Thank you, children. Thank you, Shakina and Shivani and the demonstrative learning team. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kartik ji, thank you so much. Ji. You take care, children. All the best.
Rush. Bye.
Ji, take care. Take care. Jai Dhari Ma. Take care.